Hey everybody, it's Alex with Engineering Applied. In this video, I'll be giving you an overview of the break command found within an Autodesk Inventor drawing file. If you want more easy to understand and practical content like this, made by an experienced engineer like myself, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on any helpful content like this in the future. If you're looking for a specific function, check the description for timestamps, and if you don't find what you're looking for in this video, make sure you check out the other videos in my Autodesk Inventor series playlist because I know you'll find exactly what you need there. Let's get started. Okay, everybody, so here we are in our drawing file, and what we'll be covering in this lesson is how to use the break command to shorten a 10-foot piece of aluminum frame such that it fits on the drawing as you see here. Okay, so this is that same frame. So the model it's referencing is still 10 feet long, but it's creating a break in the middle so that we can fit all of these views on a single sheet without it running off of the sides. So the first thing we need to do is go ahead and insert our base view of interest. So what we'll do is we'll go up to the create section and click on base. And I'm going to rotate this around so that it's in an orientation that I'd like. I want you to notice here that it's already automatically sizing this to a 1:20 scale. Okay, so it's shrinking down the scale of the view so that it'll fit nicely inside of the sheet. But we don't want that small scale because we lose a lot of that detail that we're interested in seeing on this particular part. So what I'll do is I'll increase the scale to a 1:1 scale. And when we do that, you can see the part goes way off of that sheet. And that's where this break command comes into play. So let's go ahead and project a couple more views. That's fine. And we'll create those base views there. And I'm going to remove the hidden lines so that we don't clutter the page. All right, so now that we have that on the sheet, let's go up to the modify section of the ribbon and click on break. Okay, so when we click on break, you have your break command window that pops up, and we have several different display options within this window. Now, before I go ahead and dive into those options, let's see how we create the break itself first, and then come back and take a look at these different options. So to create the break, all you have to do once you enter this command window is hover over the part that you want to adjust. Okay, so in this particular case, we're going to break the parent view. Okay, so that is the base view in the center in which we projected these other two views off of. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on that center view that we have there, or our base view, and we'll go over to the left side, probably about here somewhere, and then left click once. Okay, and when we do that, you'll see we have these two lines that pop up. All right, now we can go over to the right side of the page and pick up the somewhat equal distance off of this side here. So we'll just stop right about there and left click once again. And once we do that, it automatically shortens all of these views. Now, once these are all shortened, we can actually adjust the positioning of these by left clicking and holding on either the left side and moving it to the left to pull this to the left more. We can grab the left side and move it to the opposite end to move over to the right a little bit more. And then we can do the same stuff with the right side of this break. We can pull it to the right to shorten the right side of the break, or we can pull it to the left and lengthen the right side of the break. Now that we've set the location of our breaks, we can actually go back into the break command window and edit the breaks that we currently have. So if you've already created your break but didn't select any other style options, what you can do is you can right click on the break itself. And notice how it's highlighted in red. So when I hover the mouse cursor over that, the break itself turns red. We want to right click and then go to edit break. Now that we're back in our break command window, we have access to our style section. So within the style section, we have a rectangular style and a structural style. So currently we're set on structural, and that just means that we get a straight line with a wave in the middle. Okay, so that's what our break looks like in the structural style. If we change this to rectangular and click OK, it changes it to more of a sawtooth pattern. Now let's go back into our edit break menu, or our break command window, and take a look at the display section. Okay, so within this section at the top, we have a little preview window that shows us the basic preview of what this break will look like. So currently we're set on rectangular, so you see that sawtooth pattern. When I change it to structural, that changes to show me what that would look like. So starting with rectangular, let's take a look at what happens when we change some of these options. So below this preview window, we have a min-max slider. Okay, so with this min-max slider, you can decrease the size of the teeth. Okay, so we have more teeth in that same space. and we can increase it as well. So we get less teeth of a larger size. So let's go ahead and go to the minimum size for these and click OK. And as you can see there, we get a bunch of teeth in that same space, but of a smaller size. Now we can go back into that window and change it in the other direction. So we'll just change it to the maximum size and click OK. And there you go. So the teeth are larger and more spread out. So now let's go back once again and set this again to the middle setting there and take a look at the gap here. So by default, the gap is set to 1/4 inch. So we can actually increase the gap size here. So the gap is just the distance between one side of the break and the other. So if we increase this size to, let's say, 1 inch and click OK, you can see that gap spreads apart accordingly. Now let's go back into our break command window and take a look at the symbols parameter field. Now, when we use the rectangular style, we can't actually use the symbols parameter field because the number of symbols are controlled with the min max slider. Okay, so this changes the pitch and quantity of those little teeth that you see on the break. So because it's controlled by the slider, we can't actually enter a number here. Now we can actually enter a number here within the structural style. And when we do that, so let's increase this by 2. Okay, so we'll set it to 3 and we'll click OK and see what happens there. And actually, let's change this gap back to the default so that you can get a better idea of what that would look like. And we'll click OK. And there you go. So we have 3 little waves along the length of that break. And of course, you can decrease that back down to 2. And you can only max it out at 3, by the way. So we cannot go any larger than 3 symbols there. Let's set it to 2 this time and click OK. And there we go. So now we have those 2 waves in that break. We're now back in our break command window. So let's go ahead and take a look at our min max slider and our gap parameter in the context of the structural style. So as we move the slider towards the minimum setting, the amplitude or the size of that wave gets smaller. So let's go ahead and click OK and see what happens. So as you can see here, that little wave gets extremely small when we set it to the minimum value in that min max slider. Let's go ahead and take a step back and go back into the menu once again. Let's set it to the maximum setting this time and click OK. And as you can see there, the amplitude gets larger. All right. Now let's take a look at the next setting, which is the gap setting. So currently it's set to the default of 1/4 inch. Let's set this to something larger, like 1 inch, and we'll click OK. And when we do that, as you can see there, the gap goes to a measurement of 1 inch. Okay, so that is the gap setting in the context of the structural style. Now let's go ahead and take another step back and move on to the next option, which is the vertical or horizontal orientation setting. To access the setting, you actually need to implement this from the start. So you cannot create the break and then go back and edit it like we've been doing with these previous examples. You actually have to do this prior to creating the initial break. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So what we do first is we have our base view on our drawing sheet that we want to go ahead and create a break with, and then we'll click on break in the modify section of the ribbon. We'll click on our view of interest. And now, as you can see here, we get these 2 options that are available to us. We have the horizontal orientation, which is what we've been using. So basically all that means is the orientation of the break runs along the horizontal axis, okay, which gives us a break in this direction. Now, if we take a step back and do that again, and select the vertical break option, it will allow us to do a break in the vertical direction. So when we click on this part, it will allow us to remove the midsection of this part in the vertical axis direction. So as you can see there, it just cuts out the middle of this part vertically. Now, the final option that we have available to us is the propagate to parent view option. So to access this, we need to have a view that's projected off of the base view or parent view. So this view sitting above the base view was a projection. So in other words, I went to projected view, clicked on my base view, and then just projected this view above it. Okay, so when I created that view and I go to apply a break to it, I get this option available down here. So all this says is when I create a break on this view, when it's activated, it will propagate that break back to the base view, okay, or to the parent view. If I uncheck that box, then I will only apply the break to the upper projected view, but not the base view below it. So let's go ahead and see what this does when this is enabled. So I'll go ahead and create a horizontal break here. Okay, and when I do that, as you can see, it propagated to the parent view. We'll go back and do the same thing again, but we'll uncheck that option. Okay, so let's uncheck propagate to parent view, and then apply that same horizontal break. And as you can see there, I've only applied the break to this projected view and not the parent view. Now let's go ahead and talk about what happens when we have a dimension on a part that has a break in it. So first of all, let's go ahead and apply a dimension to this part. So I'll right click, go into my marking menu, and then click on general dimension. And then we'll just dimension the length here. So when we dimension the length here, as you can see, it's a length of 120 inches. So it still maintains the actual length of the part, which is really important. But then if we zoom in here, you'll notice we have a little break symbol along that dimension line. Now, of course, we can adjust the location of this symbol by clicking and dragging on this little green dot here. And as we move the mouse left and right, this moves along with it. And then if we want to hide this symbol altogether, all we have to do is click and drag this symbol and move it behind the actual dimension text itself, and then let go of left mouse, okay? And when we do that, the symbol is actually hidden behind the number here. Now, before I go ahead and finish up this video, I want to discuss the interaction between annotations and breaks in our drawing views. So let's say, for example, I want to put an item balloon that points towards this parent view here. So we'll just drop it there. Okay. And let's say that I want to expand this break so that we can shrink down this view just a little bit more. So let's do that. So as I move this break beyond where the point of that arrow is touching this view, we lose that annotation. Okay. So it looks like it's gone, but the annotation is just hidden. So to reveal it again, you just need to move the break to where you're off of where the annotation is pointing to. And there we go. Our annotation is back. So all you need to do is just move your annotation in a location where it's not going to be cut off by that break. So we'll go ahead and just adjust the location of this by moving it over to the edge of the part. Okay, and we'll just adjust that like so. And now we can move this break as far as we need to, just as long as it doesn't touch this annotation here, so that we can maintain that annotation in our drawing view. That's all for this segment of the Autodesk Inventor Drawing Creation module, where I gave you an overview of the break command. I really hope that you found this tutorial to be helpful and that you put what you've learned into practice so you can continue developing your skills as you work your way through these lessons. Also, before you watch the next video in the series, make sure you subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications to stay up to date on future content that will help you create the future you want for yourself. And of course, don't hesitate to leave a comment or reach out via my website contact page and let me know if there's anything else you'd like to learn about or see on this channel. I really appreciate you choosing to stop by and learn with me, and I'll see you again soon.